What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be ranking all 8 live action Spider-Man movies from the worst to the best. A little bit over a month until Brand New Day comes out, so gotta get this video up before then. But let's get into it. Coming in last place is pretty easy for me. I'm going to go TASM 2 with a 4.3 out of 10. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. The acting was god-awful. The pacing was all over the place. You just have Spider-Man, Peter Parker, just following Gwen around, conflicted that he wants to be with her, but he promised, her dad before he died that, he would leave her out of it. So we kind of see that bothering him. But, just kind of back and forth. It's like, dude, you either with her or not, Then we get Electro, which the design looked horrible. I mean, he's just bald and he's just like blue and it just looked really bad. And the movie kind of just goes on and on and on and on and on. And then find out that Harry Osborn is dying. And he thinks that Spider-Man's blood can save him. But Peter thinks it's too risky, so he tells him no as Spider-Man. And then we get one of the cringiest line deliveries ever of "You're a fraud, Spider-Man." I'm like, unbelievable. So he turns himself into Green Goblin, and then you have this final fight scene, and most of the movie is really boring. It's just not good. You have Peter trying to find out more about his dad and stuff, and don't really do that much with it. And then get to that final fight, Spider-Man versus Electro. No, am I saying it right? I don't know. Electro. We'll just say that. But they do that, and it just really wasn't that entertaining. So then he beats him, and then we see Harry Osborn as Green Goblin. So then they fight, and Gwen's in the middle of it. Which this is probably the best scene the movie has to offer, where Gwen's falling and he tries to save her, but he does not save her in time, and then breaks down crying and stuff. And then the end of the movie is him just giving up being Spider-Man, and get multiple time jumps of him visiting her at the cemetery and stuff like that. And the movie just ends with him putting the Spider-Man suit back on, her giving a speech at the high school graduation, and it basically ends with him fighting the Rhino. And then, so this is easily the worst in my opinion. But just not really that great. But coming in 7th place, I am going to go the movie that came out before this. I'm going TASM 1. Look, it's not bad. It's alright. You got some cool moments here, but it's just a reboot. It's just another origin story. And let's be honest, in my free time, I want to watch Spider-Man. I have the options between TASM 1 and, Tobey's Spider-Man. I'm picking Tobey's Spider-Man to watch, all day. There's no debate here. I'd probably take Homecoming over this. Just Peter acts way too cool in this. He's just, he doesn't get bullied that much. He gets into a fight with Flash, but that's about it. He doesn't get bullied around that much. He just comes off way too cool. The Uncle Ben stuff I thought was alright. I just don't think it was as good as the first one, which we'll get to later. But it doesn't really feel that special to me. And they start off with the Lizard as the first villain, which I'm just not really a fan of. I mean, the Lizard wasn't bad, but still. And then his whole motive is he wants to turn the entire city into lizards, which is just weird, but okay. I mean, the fight scenes were cool, but still, you got some cringy moments, like him walking down this alley saying, "You like beating up girls? Like beating up old men? Like, bro." And then he just fights these random dudes because he thinks that they killed his uncle, but it wasn't the guy with the star tattoo. So, yeah, and then this suit looks horrible. Like, it looks like a basketball. Like, that's what it looks like. And I just didn't really like the yellow eyes either. It just looked weird. Final fight was alright and stuff, but yeah, just not really that great. I'm going to give it a 6.2 out of 10. But coming in at 6th place, we're going to go Spider-Man 3. Now, it's a bad movie, sure, but at least it's fun. You know, it's a fun movie. You get some fun moments here. You have like the memes in this movie of Bully Maguire saying like, "I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye." So you get some fun moments. I do think the black suit looks cool when he gets it, and how it like changes, or not really changes personality, but like brings out, like, you know, the darkness within him. So I think that could have been, you know, really good, but they kind of just do too much with this movie. You have Harry Osborn as Green Goblin, which, you know, I do like, but then they bring in Sandman, which I really don't like that they reveal him as the person who killed Uncle Ben, not that other guy, because it doesn't really stay true to the comics. I know, like, not everything has to be comic accurate, I get it, but it kind of just takes away from the first movie a little bit, not too much, but, you know, when you watch it for the first time and they reveal that he's the one who killed Uncle Ben and it was an accident, it's kind of like a little bit of a letdown, but you know, other than that, the stuff with Peter and MJ is like a bit much, like her Broadway career not going the way she wants, and then Peter tries to help her, and says like, "Look, I can relate, I get pressure as Spider-Man," and she's like, "It's not about you, it's about me, it's about my career." I'm like, alright. And of course you get some unnecessary stuff, like Spider-Man kissing Gwen Stacy. There was no reason for that, and then she gets upset about it, and then she doesn't tell him that she got fired. I don't know why she doesn't. She tells Harry, but she doesn't tell Peter. I'm like, why didn't you just be honest with him and tell him that? Then your relationship would have been fine. But eventually Harry gets his memory back and kind of screws that up, and get a fight scene between Peter and Harry. And then, you know, we see Eddie Brock, played by Topher Grace, from that 70s show. Peter gets him fired and stuff, and then, you know, we see Peter hit MJ and instantly regrets it, and then takes the black suit off, and then Eddie gets it, becomes Venom, which I like Venom. Venom is, you know, my favorite Spider-Man villain. But he just was not that good in this movie. The final fight was entertaining, but again, too many villains. I do like that they redeem Harry Osborn, but He's one of those characters that after he redeems, he dies. He sacrifices himself to save Peter from Venom. Then they have the funeral, and then you get that like last scene of Peter and MJ dancing. So you have some good moments here, but definitely the weakest out of Tobey's trilogy. I'm gonna give it a 7.3 out of 10. But coming in fifth place, we're gonna go Spider-Man: Homecoming. Tad bit underrated at times, but it's basically Tom's first, solo Spider-Man movie. But you have Iron Man come in and out, which is okay. I think Tom Holland is really good as Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Michael Keaton as Vulture was really good. I think he did a great job playing the Vulture character. You have Ned finding out that Peter is Spider-Man, so their dynamic was pretty cool, and get some good comedy moments with Ned and Happy. And then you get to the down point of the movie where Peter tries to save these people on a cruise, but then Iron Man shows up and takes away his suit, and you get a good moment here where Peter's like, I'm nothing without this suit, and he's like, if you're nothing without it, then you shouldn't have it. And then we get the reveal that Vulture is the father of the girl that Peter likes. So then he threatens him, and he's like, I'm sorry, but you don't deserve this. So then he puts on, his previous suit, the bad one, or whatever you want to call it. And, there's like a collapse where like he has to like get out of some rubble. So like he fights harder than ever. So like that last fight with Vulture was very good. So he beats him, and Vulture goes to prison, and then Happy takes Peter to Tony, and they're like, hey, like, you can be an Avenger, give you a new suit and stuff, but Peter turns it down, which I do like. So then he gets back to his apartment, and Tony gives him the suit back, puts it on. Aunt May finds out that he's Spider-Man, and the movie ends there. And then we get that post-credit scene of Michael Keaton's Vulture meeting Michael Mando's Scorpion, aka Nacho from Better Call Saul, which is like, can't believe it was 9 years ago. Holy crap, time flies. Where he says, word on the street is, who Spider-Man is, and he's like, if I knew who he was, he'd already be dead. So apparently they're not going to work together. But yeah, it's a pretty solid movie. I think it's a lot better than people give it credit for. I'm going to give it a 7.8 out of 10. But coming in fourth place, we're going Spider-Man: Far From Home. Again, a lot of people underrate this one. I think it's a lot better than given credit for. You got the whole aftermath of Tony Stark's death in Endgame and how that's affecting Peter. So he decides to take a break from being Spider-Man. They go to London, I think, on a field trip, I think, or something. Tries to get closer with MJ. We get introduced to Mysterio, which I thought the actor did a great job, perfect casting, where like he portrays himself as a hero, trying to do good, trying to do the right thing. So he works with Nick Fury and Spider-Man. You have all these like disasters happening and stuff, and they work together. And then Peter has these glasses, and he's like, I don't think I'm worthy of these. You should have them. You're more worthy than I am. So I do like that, Peter, because of, Tony's death and feeling kind of lost. He's like, I'm not good enough for these, but you are. So he gives them to Mysterio, and then, they reveal that Peter made a horrible mistake. It was all an illusion. So Mysterio enacts his, plan. Then MJ finds out that Peter is Spider-Man. She's like, it was obvious. So get that final fight, and we see Peter struggle because of all the illusions that Mysterio's hitting him with. But the final fight was entertaining, so he uses the drones, and the drones take him out. So then they head back to New York to end the movie. And then that post-credit scene of Mysterio broadcasting the video of him getting killed by the drones. And he reveals that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and he's like, what the and it sets up No Way Home. So pretty good movie. I thought it was enjoyable. I give it an 8 out of 10. Alright, on to our top 3. At number 3, I'm going No Way Home. I don't know why people hate on this movie. They say like, oh, it's just fan service and all that. It's not that good. It's overrated and stuff like that. Shut the frick up. This movie was phenomenal. I mean, you get one of the best shots in the entire Spider-Man film franchise of him standing in the rain, and about to like break down into tears. You have the world finding out that he's Spider-Man and that his drones killed Mysterio, so he's under fire with that. So he goes to Doctor Strange, and says like, hey, can you make everybody forget that I'm Spider-Man or whatever. But then he screws up the spell, like, oh, Aunt May should know, oh, MJ should know, oh, Ned should know, and then pretty much screws up the spell, and it causes like all the villains from the previous movies to come in. You get Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man 2, Green Goblin from the OG Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. We see the Lizard come in, Electro, Sandman. So we see all these villains coming in, and Doctor Strange says we have to send them back to their universe, but most of them are dead in their universe, and Peter generally wants to help them, generally wants to save them. Then he makes a horrible mistake. We see Green Goblin take over Norman Osborn, and Aunt May's death was heartbreaking in this movie, and just seeing Peter break down and stuff. And then we eventually see Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire come in, and we see the awesome final fight of the 3 Spider-Men versus all those villains. See MJ falling. Tom Holland goes after her, but Norman Osborn attacks him. So then we see Andrew Garfield save MJ, paralleling to TASM 2, the Gwen Stacy scene. And then we get like that awesome like final fight between Peter and Norman, where he's like, poor Peter, too weak to send me home to die, and he's like, no, I just want to do it myself, and he's like, attaboy. And then we see like all the rage and emotion that Tom Holland's Spider-Man unleashes, where beats the crap out of Norman, and he's about to impale him with his glider, but then Tobey's Spider-Man stops him, which was a very good moment. Then Peter injects him with the needle, and Norman's like, what have I done? So that was a good moment. So then Peter makes the tough decision makes the ultimate sacrifice, make everyone forget I ever existed. His goodbye to MJ was very emotional, very well acted. The acting was phenomenal in this movie. Then we get the ending where nobody knows who he is, not even Happy. It's as if he never existed. So then he puts on the Spider-Man suit, which I like the suit at the end. That classic red and blue suit of him going off in the snow. But yeah, just a phenomenal movie. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give it a 9.3 out of 10. But on to the top two. This is very tough for me. The gap between these two movies is very close. It's really close. Very tough for me, but I am going to go Spider-Man 2. So you obviously already know what my number one is, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But arguably one of the greatest sequels ever made. Starts off with, Peter trying to balance his life as Peter Parker, but, the responsibility of being Spider-Man and being a hero. And you see, his struggle with that, where, he's constantly late to everything, his job, Mary Jane's plays, he's late for class, everything, so he struggles to balance it. MJ, the one negative of this movie is MJ is insufferable in this movie. You can tell Peter wants to be with her, but he doesn't want to risk her safety, which is a very good thing that they do in this movie. But you see him struggle with that, and she's like, I'm seeing someone, by the way. So she kind of just does that to pressure him into pursuing something. And she gets mad at him and stuff like that, and it's just kind of all over the place. So she gets engaged with the guy. I liked Dr. Octopus. I thought he was a pretty good villain and stuff, and we see the arms start to corrupt him and stuff. But this movie has really high highs. The fight scenes are amazing. Peter's powers going on the fritz. Because, he's at his lowest point and stuff. Starting to lose his powers, or just on the fritz, just not working. The MJ stuff. That scene with him on the phone apologizing to MJ, but then it cuts off. And then he says that I'm Spider-Man, but she doesn't hear it because obviously the phone needed another quarter, whatever. So, you can tell that he wants to tell her, but, he can't. But then when he does get his, powers back, we get this, awesome scene of, the subway, him trying to, save those people on the subway. And his mask comes off, and he eventually does stop the subway, but then he nearly passes out. But you see the people of New York City are on that subway, save him from falling down, and the realization of oh my god, he's just a kid. And he's doing this stuff, it's a lot of weight to carry on his shoulders. But he eventually wakes up, and you have this kid give him his mask back. He says we're not going to tell anybody, and they're welcome back, Spider-Man. And then you see Dr. Octopus stand up, and you have those people on the subway stand up for him, saying if you want him, you'll have to go through us. So that was a great moment. Then we get Harry Osborn finding out that Peter is Spider-Man, so he lets him go. So we see that confliction with Harry Osborn, he wants to avenge his father, but Peter's his best friend, so he feels totally betrayed. You have the stuff with MJ where he said, like, sorry, we can't be together, and she's like, then kiss me then, to see if he's telling the truth or not. But we get that final act, Spider-Man versus Dr. Octopus, goes there to save MJ, shut down the machine. And I do like that they kind of redeem Dr. Octopus, where he's like, I'll stop it, like, you get out of here. And then we see MJ find out that Peter is Spider-Man. Then he saves her. Dr. Octopus sacrifices himself to destroy the machine. And, get that ending, which, freaking MJ leave her fiance on their wedding day to go be with Peter, and she's like it's my decision to make. So they end up together, and then you get the last shot of her standing in his apartment, and him putting on the Spider-Man suit and swinging in the air. So, and that was a good ending, and just a great movie. Give it a 9.5 out of 10. But my number one is going to be the OG Spider-Man 2002 movie. Bit of a biasness, but I really don't care. Just perfect origin story. Stays true to, the original comics. It's exactly what Spider-Man's supposed to be. Shows you exactly, how he gets his powers and stuff. The Uncle Ben stuff was done very well. Having him as a, mentor figure to Peter, trying to be a father to him. And, you see, Peter, like, use his powers for the first time and stuff. Gets into a fight with Flash, and then, Uncle Ben, like, gives him very good advice, saying, like, these are the years that a man is going to change into the man that he's going to become for the rest of his life. Just be careful what you change into. That is very real right there. And then, Peter doesn't get his money from the guy, so he lets the criminal get away, and he's like, dude, you let him get away with my money. He's like, I missed the part where that's my problem. Then we see he makes a horrible mistake. We see that dude involved with Uncle Ben's death. So it plays into his arc throughout the movie. Chases down that dude, and the dude like falls backwards and dies. But Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin is a phenomenal villain in this movie, where he offers Spider-Man to work together and stuff, and obviously he says no, chooses to be a hero. Then, like, the final act where Green Goblin gives Spider-Man an ultimatum: you can either save MJ or the kids. So then he ends up saving both, and you have the people in New York standing up for Spider-Man, saying, like, leave him alone. And they get that, final fight scene where they go off to whatever that place is with, like, the brick wall and stuff, where Peter's, like, fighting for his life and beats the crap out of him. Then, Norman reveals himself. He's like, you're like a son to me, let me be a father to you, or something like that. And Peter's like, he said, I had a father, his name is Ben Parker. And his spider sense goes off, dodges the glider, and then Green Goblin dies. He's like, "Don't tell Harry." Then we get like that ending scene of Peter and MJ at Norman's funeral, where she wants to be with him. He's like, sorry, like he knows that he is gonna have enemies as Spider-Man and doesn't want to put her in danger. So, you know, he makes a tough decision, says like, I'll always be here for you as a friend, and then walks off. And, you know, that last shot of him, you know, web slinging through the sky, just phenomenal. One of my favorite movies of all time. Definitely one of the best superhero movies of all time. It's up there with Logan for sure. But I am going to give this a 9.6 out of 10. Alright guys, but that is it for the video. When Brand New Day comes out, I'll make it short with the updated ranking. But I'm sure Brand New Day will probably get into the top 5, maybe top 4. But let me know your guys' ranking in the comments. Next video will either be ranking all 4 Invincible seasons or all 5 The Boys seasons, depending on what you guys voted on. But the other videos I had in the poll will be put on pause until I get those videos out. But thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one.